Welcome! You're listening to Making Relationships Work. We're a company focused on women and their marriage. We lead and teach women just like you how to grow into and access, whenever you need to, your wise woman's self. The part of you who is deeply connected to your purpose, your innate wisdom, and your husband and family. We teach women in marriages how to rebuild trust and connection, to work through conflicts no matter how deep, no matter how painful, and to lead your marriage to a place where the two of you experience marriage mastery. This podcast is about learning the systems and techniques that truly work to reconnect you back into your marriage so that you can experience the freedom that comes with a masterful marriage. Since this podcast is totally free, if you're getting tons of value and you want to support us and make sure that you get more of this good stuff, subscribe below and rate and review our podcast today. Now, on to the show. Hello, Women Making Marriages Work, and hello to our subscribers watching in Making Relationships Work in the podcast and in our YouTube channel. I'm really happy to be here with you tonight. I say that every week, it's always true. And I want to talk to you tonight about this wonderful idea of a beautiful iced cake. And this iced cake, in tonight's context, is going to reflect your marriage. So let me explain what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how the majority of humans see a problem and they see the icing on the cake and they say, well, that's the problem. Now that I know what that problem is, I'm just going to do this thing and that's going to make everything okay. But of course, when you use this analogy, automatically your brain is saying, well, it's just the icing. What about if you cut into the cake and reveal it? And then you see all the different layers. You see, the jam layer, and maybe it's a rainbow cake with different colors. Yeah, maybe there's some cream in there. Maybe there's some fruit. I don't know. We don't know until we cut into it. And so marriages are very similar. We see the outside of the marriage and it's iced, and that's the view we present to the world. And most days that icing looks pretty good, probably, knowing you. The problem is that you get home and that icing isn't the way you want it. It's not supportive. We're using icing as a metaphor for marriage. It's not supportive. It doesn't love me very well, doesn't communicate very well. It's a bit hit and miss when it comes to parenting, and I'd prefer it happen this different way. There are some really common responses. Some other responses might be, well, there's betrayal and infidelity. There is addiction or substance use or abuse. There is my husband or I have financial pressures, or we have to care for our in-laws, or we have a child with special needs, and it's a lot of pressure on us. And we communicate with each other with all of those pressures on that surface cake icing level. And of course, as you know, because you've been listening here for long enough, that it takes around 6 years before a couple get into a true crisis and seek help. And so if we're looking at a one way or one reason why it takes 6 years, is because couples don't look below the surface of the icing of their marriage. And they don't do that for a couple of reasons. The first is they don't want to. It's a bit too painful. It's something that is scary. And when you've traversed it, it's been unsuccessful, you failed, or you felt as though you failed, or it's done more damage. And so you stay up on the surface level, which is highly unfulfilling. And both of you would like to be able to get to the heart of what the problem is. On some level, you would like that. But the really big things that are stopping you, the resistance to it, is not knowing how to do it safely, not knowing how to do it kindly, and not knowing why you would want to do it. Because the why is really important. So today we're going to talk about the why. Why do we actually need to see more of the cake than just the icing, remembering that the cake is a symbol of the marriage? Well, if you think about opening a cake, cutting a cake, you're going to find what's inside it. So you might find there's a layer of jam, a layer of cream, perhaps a layer of fruit, Maybe it's one of those fancy rainbow cakes that has a whole lot of candy in the middle and has different colored segments. You don't know. When it's iced on the outside, you can't tell what's inside. And so is a marriage. Yeah. So when you slice that cake, first of all, and you take it away, you can see the slice, but you can also see the cake. And in doing so, you can see the complexities that exist in your husband, that exist in you, that exist in your co-created marriage. And when you can see something, then you start to have the information that you need in order to formulate a different way of interacting with that marriage, with that husband, with yourself. But until you can see something, until you have the clarity of what's underneath the icing, then nothing really will change because you're treating the symptom, not the cause. So it's like giving yourself some Tylenol to help with a headache when actually you've pulled a muscle, and a heat compress to ease the muscle is really what needs to happen. That's the thing that will heal it. And if you don't heal that bit, the Panadol is a short-term fix. Well, I say Panadol, Tylenol. And so I guess what I want you to know is that if you don't get curious about what's under the icing, and if you don't find a way for you and your husband to do that as a couple, to do that as a team, then the real problem we have is this, what's a good example? This sense of a buildup of unresolved hurt, unresolved pain, unresolved tension. And we have this sense of a buildup of grime in a marriage. And that grime, you kind of know that it's there, and you do your best to go around it. Do your best maybe to cover over it with a nice icing. But as soon as you accidentally knock it or have a conversation that triggers or trips you into a part of that grime pile, it starts to unravel. And the problem then is that the cake analogy comes back into play, because the conversation where it's unraveling about the stuff that's hurting, the stuff that feels messy or painful, or where resentment lives, or jealousy or fear, that pile is what needs to be brought into the open and worked through. Because when it is, that's where resolution lies. That's where the ability to reconnect lives. That's where you get to feel like, yes, it's us against the world. We just sorted that out. We're amazing. But what happens is not that most of the time. Most of the time, we look at the icing of the cake and we say, you didn't pick up dinner on the way home. You aren't picking up your underwear off the floor. I wish that you weren't late. I wish that you were better or different. I don't like that you never put the dishwasher on. There's just so much inherent pain, and it comes up, and it's all at the icing level. None of that conversation is really talking about the problem. The problem's not underwear or washing or parenting. The problem is the connection between you and he, and how did you lose it? I'm going to pause there for a second. It's not about the symptoms, the dishwasher, the laundry, the rubbish bins, the groceries, the lateness. It's never about that. It's about the connection. Where is my friend? Why don't we work together as a team anymore? Where is that sense of solidarity? And the reason that you don't or can't find each other is that you've got all of this grime, all of this buildup, and you're focused in the wrong areas of healing. You're focused in the wrong areas of fighting. You're fighting to prove your own point rather than to process and heal and reconnect and build that strength as a couple. And so if you're a person who lives in that place of icing level of relationships, you can live there your whole life, but your relationships will suffer. the depth of connection that you have, your ability to notice and appreciate others, to be able to see their pain and be there as their friend and their witness. That's where true deep love lives. And to be able to do that, you have to know you. And if you don't know you, if you live in your own relationship in the icing part, not in the cake part, then you can't understand somebody else because you can't see it, how it would feel or what it would look like in yourself. The greatest gift you can give your marriage is an incredible relationship with yourself where you know all of the layers of your cake, all of the fillings, all of the colors, all of the flavor variations, including the icing, but not just the icing. And so there is where we start. We start with you. We look at your marriage. We bring the two together. So if this analogy of a cake is resonating with you and you're thinking, okay, well, I have been stuck in the symptom level, the icing level of fighting for a really long time, and we are in trouble, and I do want it to be different, then there's two things you can do. One is that masterclass. I'll pop the link in. The second one is you can book a call with me and my team. I'll put my calendar link in and you can find some availability that suits you. It's a 45-minute free call and you're welcome to use it. Now, my friend, you get one life. You get one cake because you're the cake. And you get to co-create a cake for your relationship. Don't buy in to the idea that that cake is only at the icing level. You might have some resistance come up like, well, my husband won't let me get to know him, or I'm too scared to do that. And I say to you, they're just resistances. You might need some more help with that, and that's okay. You can watch the masterclass, you can book a call, but don't deny yourself the opportunity to explore the richness that comes with layers of cake, because that's where the good stuff is. And I want you to know what that good stuff is. Okay, my loves, I'll talk to you soon, later this week probably, and I wish you a wonderful, wonderful week. And yes, don't forget, your value is in the layers. Your value is in the depths of you. Your outside is beautiful. Your icing is wonderful, but it's you, the heart of the cake. That's the bit you want to know. That's the bit you want to befriend. And that's the bit you want to journey with. All right, talk to you soon. Thank you for tuning into today's show. If you're feeling fired up and you're ready to grow and you want to know more about how to do that, here is what I want you to do now. I want you to watch my marriage masterclass. This masterclass will show you how my clients have turned their struggling marriages into thriving marriages, even without their husband's buy-in. How my clients have gone from cycles of poor communication, disconnect and loneliness to being teammates and soulmates with their husbands again, even after they've already tried everything. And the proven system my clients use to start transforming their marriages in minutes, not years, because life is too precious to waste one more minute in an unhappy and unfulfilling marriage. So if this is what you're looking for, I want you to click the link below and take a look at my masterclass.